Hey everyone, how y'all doing? Welcome and welcome back to my channel and welcome to Vlogmas Day 22. So 2020 was a great year for me in regards to discovering some new favorite authors, so that's what today's video is all about. But before we get into the video, if you have not yet subscribed, make sure to do so down below. I am uploading daily this month, and if you haven't missed any of my Vlogmas videos, the playlist will be linked down below in the description for you guys to check out. So let's just get right into talking about my favorite new to me authors of 2020. So the first author I'm going to talk about I think is the one that I am the most obsessed with at the moment, and that is Talia Hibbert, who is the author of the Chloe Brown books. I am so obsessed with these books. This was really my year for reading adult romances. I just became completely obsessed. I also just realized that I tabbed this one and I didn't tab this one. What is wrong with me? Oop, guess I gotta reread it. But by reading both of these books, I just completely fell in love with Talia Hibbert's characters and her stories. I do have to admit that particularly in Chloe Brown, her writing style was a bit of an adjustment for me. It did take me a little bit to get into the story and get past the writing style. I think it was just the tense that maybe it was told in, or the POV, I'm not entirely sure, but there was something about the writing style that was just kind of jarring to me at the beginning. But once I got into the story both times, I just could completely ignore the writing style and just get into the book. I think that's a great tell for being a good storyteller, is when you don't even notice the writing and you just completely fall in love with the story and get lost in it, which is what happened with me with these two books. I am just completely obsessed with the romances. They were so swoon-worthy and the characters are amazing. The dialogue, oh my god, the dialogue. Everything about these books are just like 10 out of 10. I just completely fell head over heels in love with her stories, and I can definitely see myself reading more of her in the future. I am so excited for the third Brown sister book, which is, I believe, Act Your Age Eve Brown. I'm really excited to learn more about Eve and see her story. I really loved these ones and I can definitely see myself rereading them in the future many times over. They were just so much fun and I highly recommend them if you guys are interested. So the next author I'm going to be talking about is Aiden Thomas, who wrote Cemetery Boys. This book has been one of the most hyped books on BookTube on Book Twitter this year. It even got on the New York Times bestseller list, I believe, for a couple of weeks, which is just so exciting, and I knew that I had to read it. Like, I was on like a slight book buying ban. Like, I've been trying not to buy that many books this year because I'm not currently working. I was interested in this book and then I saw it hit the New York Times list. I'm like, okay, I need to read this book. So I picked it up and I read it, I believe, in October, and I'm obsessed with it. It was so good. The writing style is amazing. The characters are great. Dialogue is great. And like, literally, when I tell you that this book was so stressful at the end and had my face all scrunched up because I was so worried and stressed, oh my god, like, I gave myself a headache. And that's how you know like a book is good and that I'm really attached to what's happening and the writing. I really love Aiden's storytelling with this book. I think that he did such an amazing job, and I am definitely interested in reading anything else that he publishes. I know he has another book coming out. I need to look into it a bit more because I don't remember the title or what it's about, but I just know that this book was fantastic. I highly recommend it to everybody, and I'm just really excited to read more from this author. This wasn't a book that in the beginning of the year I knew about or was anticipating. I didn't know anything about this book or Aiden Thomas. It's just one of those books that has just like touched my heart and that I'm just so in love with. I don't know, I really enjoyed it. If you are interested in reading this book, it's so good. We follow a trans main character, which is amazing. He falls in love with a ghost. It's so good. Such a cool story idea, such a heartfelt book. Just everything literally about this book was so amazing, and I just became so attached to it. So definitely love Aiden Thomas's books, and I am looking forward to reading anything else from him in the future. So the next author is Brigid Kemmerer, who wrote A Curse Dark and Lonely. This is the only book that I've read by her. I have not yet read the sequel. I believe the third book is coming out next year, which is really exciting. But I am not a huge fan of high fantasy. It's really hard for me to get into. It's a genre that I wish I loved. It's a genre that I wish I could read from more often, but I just find it really difficult to kind of cast my own thoughts aside and be able to just focus on the world and the story. But this one was so easy to get into and so easy to fall in love with and understand. I became invested very early on while reading it, and I think that just shows how talented Brigid Kemmerer is with her writing, with her stories and characters, to make me, who is not a huge high fantasy reader, who struggles to comprehend it sometimes, for me to like completely fall in love with the story. Like, I'm obsessed with this book. The Beauty and the Beast retelling, like, oh, stellar. This book was just done so well. The romance, oh my goodness, the characters, The whole curse element, like everything about this story was so much fun. While it is more on the high fantasy side, it didn't really read like one, which is my favorite. I was able to connect to and understand all of the different elements of this new world that I've never read about before. And like, I swear, like, I'm just so attached to this book. I can't stop thinking about it. I'm so excited to read the sequel when I finally get my hands on it someday. But I am just absolutely obsessed with this book and with Brigid Kemmer's writing, and I am definitely interested in reading more of her other books, not just in this series but in other ones as well. I think she has a book that came out before this one that I'm definitely going to look into, but I'm obsessed. I think that she did such a good job with this book and such a good job with writing in general that I'm really excited to read anything else she publishes. I'm really happy about this one. Like, I've owned this book since it came out last year, and I'm just really happy that I loved it, and I'm really happy that I enjoyed Brigid Kemmer's writing style, so I will definitely be picking up anything else that she writes. The next author I'm going to talk about is Stephanie Garber, who wrote the Caraval series. So this is not like a favorite series by any means. I listened to it this year on audiobook, and I did enjoy it. It was a fun series. I liked the characters, I liked the story, the world was really fun. I also just really loved like the whimsy of the series and the magical elements. It was just a fun series to listen to, and I found myself becoming really invested in all the characters and how the story was going to play out. So I don't know if I would read everything that Stephanie Garber comes out with, but I do know that I'm interested in reading anything that is similar to Caraval. She has a new book coming out, I believe, next year that she just announced that I believe has Jax, who is a character from Caraval, in it. So I'm very intrigued to read that book. I was so surprised by this series and how much I actually did end up enjoying it, and I really liked the writing style, and I also just like in general really liked the audiobooks that I listened to for it. I think it really helped it come to life, and I think that's definitely the way I'm gonna go to read her future books. I just in general think that her story ideas are really fun and interesting. I really like the way that she did her characters and the romances with them all, and just like the world, like everything felt so lush and vivid, and I really like storytelling like that, and I think she did such a good job. I really like her descriptions and again dialogue. Like, I feel like I'm saying the same thing for every single author, but it's true. Like, these are the things that I cherish. But I am definitely intrigued to read more books from Stephanie Garber and see if I like them as much as I liked this series, or if I maybe even like them more. But I just had so much fun reading this series this year, and I think Stephanie Garber deserved to be on this list. She was just really fun, and I will have her future books on my radar. So the next author I'm going to talk about is Christine Lynn Herman, who wrote The Devouring Grey. This is the only book I've read by Christine Lynn Herman. I have yet to read The Deck of Omens, which is the sequel to this book. I was really pleasantly surprised with how much I enjoyed this book. I obviously bought it because I thought I was gonna like it, but there was that slight hesitation in the back of my mind thinking that maybe I wouldn't like it, and I don't know why. Actually, I do know why. It's because I had picked this book up from the library 2 times prior to purchasing it and actually reading it, and I DNF'd it unofficially at around the same point every time, like a couple chapters in. It wasn't like an official DNF, it was just like, okay, I want to just return this to the library, I'm not in the mood, I'm gonna read something else. And so I think that made me hesitant, like, oh, if I can't get past this one point each time, maybe it's just not for me. But once I got into the story, I ended up really enjoying it. I really liked these characters and their dynamics with each other, but particularly I really liked the way Christine Lynn Herman does her atmosphere and her like world building and setting. She just had such a good way of describing everything and making it feel really, really immersive. Like I said, I enjoyed the characters, their dialogue with each other, and just kind of like the intensity of everything, and the stakes were really good. I just found that this was a really fun book to read, and I became really invested in it, which, like I said, surprised me because I had a bit of hesitation going into this book. But overall, I thought it was really, really good. I was really interested in it, and I am very intrigued to read anything else Christine Lynn Herman comes out with. I'm definitely going to keep her books on my radar as well. I think this is probably one of my favorites of the year. Like, first it's Talia Hibbert, I think, and this one might be the next one, like in terms of ranking. But we have Sophie Gonzalez, who is the author of Only Mostly Devastated. You guys know contemporary is my favorite genre, and I read this book earlier in the year. But this book has been on my radar all year long because I saw it on my Twitter, followed the author, and I became very invested in this book. It's a Grease retelling. I love Grease. I was also just like in general really into musicals this year, which is a new addition to my life. I was just rediscovering my love of Grease, and so reading this book, seeing all of the Grease details in it, all of the nods to the movie, I really, really enjoyed. And I just think this book was so well done. I was so emotionally invested in the characters and their relationships with each other, and I think everything was just done so well. The emotion was there, the stakes were there, like everything was just so well done. But I actually know of 2 future books that Sophie Gonzalez is coming out with. There's Perfect on Paper, which comes out next year, I believe, and I'm just so excited for it. And then she has a co-written book coming out with one of her friends, which is about like a boy band like relationship relationship, and I'm so excited for that book. It sounds amazing. So I can already tell that I'm just gonna love anything that Sophie Gonzalez publishes. She seems to have really interesting story ideas that just capture me immediately, and I'm really excited to read more from her and have more characters to fall in love with and more books to get emotional about. I'm just really excited, and this has definitely been one of my favorite finds this year, and so Sophie Gonzalez is definitely one of my new favorites. I am just completely obsessed with her and her book, and I can't wait to read more from her. So those are all of my favorite new to me authors of 2020. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a huge thumbs up. Comment down below who your favorite new to you authors of this year are, because I'd really love to know and discuss it with you guys. Let me know if you love any of these authors or books. Also comment down below a red heart emoji if you guys have stayed till the very end, and subscribe if you have not yet already, and check out the Vlogmas playlist in the description if you are not yet caught up on the videos, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye!